Hey everyone, welcome. Good morning to you. Good afternoon and almost good evening to some of you. I am coming on today because I want to talk about purpose, living a life of purpose, and what does purpose mean to you? Um, I find it very interesting because there's a lot of ideas and a lot of ideologies and theologies, if you will, and doctrines and thought processes about purpose. Um, Christians will say that our purpose in life is to serve God. And the overarching purpose of Christendom is to serve God, to further his kingdom, to be about his purposes. But not a but. We're not going to negate that. It is, period. The more interesting part of that is each of us have a part to play in that overarching scheme. So, how we serve, why we serve, changes with each individual. And it's based on our natural God given abilities, right? And so, just to say that I am saved, and someone said this yesterday. I was at a retreat, a virtual retreat, as you guys know. And I heard someone say, I just got saved so I wouldn't go to hell. That's basic thinking, basic. And I mean, she evolved from that, thank God. But many of us think that, oh, I just got saved so I wouldn't go to hell. Or, somebody preached a sermon on the lake of fire and that scared me. And so I didn't want to go to hell. So I got saved. And many of the people in the world say, well, um, I'm not going to blindly follow anyone. I'm not going to get involved in church because that just seems like a crutch and so we come up with these ideas of what we think um, is going on because, and it's the church's fault because we have taught people this basic concept, this basic doctrine, and we haven't taken them into the empowerment of grace. And the empowerment of grace then allows you to take your salvation, which is needed, a step further. And when I ask, what does purpose mean to you? I'm saying, how do you contribute to the overarching purpose of being a Christian? How do you contribute to the overarching purpose of working your job? How do you contribute to the overarching purpose of your family? How do you contribute to the overarching purpose of the things that you're involved in? You're involved in a lot of things, and each of those things has a mission statement, a vision, and a purpose. However, how do you contribute to it? What natural talents and abilities do you bring to it? And so you have got to define for yourself, and that's your homework. You've got to define for yourself, what does purpose mean to you? Because if you keep listening to what everybody else is saying, you'll get lost in, one person says it's passion. One person says it's, finding your parachute. And one person says it's finding the color of your parachute. One person says it's dancing until you free. And another one says it's grinding and getting in the grind of things. And if you don't define purpose for yourself, then you can get kind of wayward. And now you're busy doing, but you're not doing anything. You're not being meaningful. You're not having purpose. You're not being strategic and intentional. And so you want to understand that as a Christian, I need to know why I'm in the body of Christ. I need to understand what it is that I contribute. Because look at, you have a body, right? You have a head, you have eyes, you have ears, you have a mouth, you have a nose, you have fingers, you have a hand, you have a foot, you have toes, you have knees, you have joints, you have membranes, you have cells. I mean, all of this makes up you. And the cells don't do the same thing as the eyes, and the eyes don't do the same thing as the nose, and the nose doesn't do the same thing as the fingers, right? The nose doesn't say, well, I don't want to be a nose, I want to be a toe. It doesn't do that. It understands that in order to get Linda from point A to point B, which is my goal and my purpose and the overarching reason why we exist, is to make sure that Linda is alive and breathing. So my lungs have to function the way that they function, and they have a purpose. You understand what I'm saying? My heart has to function the way it functions, and it has a purpose. My butt, my stomach, my brain, my eyes, my ears, my nose, everything about what makes Linda Linda has to know what its purpose is and has to fulfill that purpose, so I can get from point A to point B, so I can live the life that I'm supposed to live, so I can do the things that I'm supposed to do. I cannot do it if my body does not function properly. I cannot do it. If something in my body becomes lame or becomes non-functioning, I am limited by what I can do. So everything in my body has a purpose, and it understands that purpose, and it fulfills that purpose, so I can move from place to place and do what I need to do. And so in the scheme of the world, you got to find your purpose. What is it that you contribute to the world? Because as quiet as it's kept, and it's not kept that quiet, let's be honest, God has a plan for you. And that plan is so that you can fulfill the purpose He intended for you. But you have to discover that purpose, and you have to not be afraid to walk therein. And it's only the grace and mercy of God. Now, to those of you that say, well, you doing all this talking and you trying to make it sound like I can do this without God. I'm not trying to make it sound like that at all, because I'm not confused about it. But for the grace of God, there go I. I understand that God is in control of everything, and He makes things work out for the good. And sometimes the good doesn't look like my good. You understand what I'm saying? But He's always in control. I understand that. I have the grace of salvation, the grace and mercy that God bestows upon me. His mercies are new every morning. I could not do what I do without God's leading and grace and mercy and understanding and wisdom. I could not. You cannot. Whether you acknowledge Him or not, He is governing every step you take, every breath you take, every ability that you have. He gave it to you. So whether you acknowledge Him or not, Linda will never tell you you can do it on your own. That's just not possible. Just not possible. You can believe me or not believe me, but it is what it is. I said it, I meant it, and I'm not taking it back. So in order for you to be the best version of yourself, is you have to discover what eons of time know already. You have to discover what the galaxy already knows. You have to discover what the universe already knows. You have to discover what your DNA already knows. Because everything you need is on the inside of you. It was given to you when you were just a thought in God's mind. So what does purpose mean to you? How do you define purpose? And once you get your definition, how are you going to live that purpose? How are you going to make sure that you accomplish what you were that you accomplish what you're supposed to accomplish in the time frame that you have to accomplish? Because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. I'm Coach Linda. This is 100 Days of Purpose. You be blessed. You be encouraged. Happy Sunday to you. Hopefully you went to some house of prayer, some house of worship, and gave God his due praise for all his wonderful blessings. Because it's easy for us to see what we don't have. It's kind of harder for us to focus on what we do, because we look at what we don't have more than we look at what we do have. We look at what's going wrong than what's going right. But take some time today to be grateful for what's going right in your life, or who's going right in your life, for the people attached to you that support you and love you and care for you. Be grateful. Gratefulness opens up the door to so many things. It opens up the door to all kinds of opportunity. But you got to start with gratefulness. And it helps when you know your purpose. Because I'm this purpose. I always got to bring it back to purpose, right? Anyway, I'm Coach Linda. And as I always say, I'm out.